hearty welcome to one and all. This is episode 99 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your Sunday early evening with me. If you're checking out episode 99 on the YouTube channel and haven't done so already, click like, subscribe, comment, turn on those notifications. Or if you're catching up with this episode on the audio platforms such as Spotify or iTunes, same general rule applies. If you enjoy the content, click like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. So today is the 60th anniversary of, no exaggeration, a watershed moment in the history of American sports. Because on this day, February 25, 1964, a brash, wisecracking Olympic gold medalist by the name of Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. had his chance at the world heavyweight title at just 22 years of age. He had only recently turned 22, in fact. It was expected, despite the pedigree of being Olympic gold medalist and undefeated, with anyone could see a tremendous amount of natural ability, just running around the ring. Nobody could really square him up. He only got hit hard a couple of times in his first 19 professional fights. But the world heavyweight champion was a really scary guy, mob-owned, ex-convict by the name of Charles Sonny Liston. And Mike Tyson, who, as many of you know, is a historian, he's many years retired as an active boxer, but he was always a historian, even as a younger person watching fight films and learning about the heavyweight champions before him, and in some cases even before Ali. Mike Tyson has said that Sonny Liston made him, meaning Mike, look like a Boy Scout, that Sonny Liston was the real deal and he was really a bad motherfucker. Whereas Mike has implied more or less that, yeah, I was messed up, but I was kind of playing a character. I didn't really ever see myself deep down as a guy willing to go out there and die for my sport. Sonny Liston was the real deal. So despite the enormous talent, and nobody was doubting that Cassius Clay was a tremendously talented young man. They don't give out Olympic medals. And he won the Olympics pretty easily against the best amateur fighters in the world. He just sort of ran through. And maybe he lost a round in the entire competition. Might have lost a round in the gold medal fight against Ziggy Petrikowski. But he really beat the guy up in the last round, broke his nose, and won the gold medal. You know, nobody thought, oh my God, he got a lucky decision, because even back then there was a lot of controversy at the Olympics and at the professional level, a lot of decisions where he said, geez, the wrong guy won this fight, wrong guy won that fight. But young Cassius Clay turned pro shortly after the Olympics, and Sonny Liston took the World Heavyweight Championship from a solid champion, an Olympic champion himself, Floyd Patterson. Beat him twice, and both fights ended in the first round. Floyd Patterson probably would have been an all-time great at light heavyweight. At heavyweight, it's miraculous that he ended up not only winning the championship, defending it a number of times, and then regaining it after Ingemar Johansson almost took his head off in their first fight. But when he was up against bigger guys, it was very difficult for him to even be competitive. You know, what they used to say about him and Cassius Clay, later Ali, was that everything that Floyd did well, Ali did a lot better, and he was just naturally a bigger man. So Floyd was fast, Ali was faster. Floyd could punch, didn't hit as hard as Ali, and Ali wasn't even known as a tremendous puncher. And Floyd, if you squared him up, was going to go down. He took a lot of knockdowns. And Ali, in his entire professional career, 61 fights, he got knocked down 3 times. And the third time was kind of arguable. That Chuck Wepner stepped on his foot in that famous fight, which ended up inadvertently creating the Rocky series. But Liston was feared. He was 35-1 going into this fight, this heavyweight championship fight with the young Cassius Clay. And the only fight that he lost was a sort of disputed decision, an 8-round decision to a solid boxer by the name of Marty Marshall. I always thought that was a great name for a fighter, Marty Marshall. And Marty Marshall was like almost a stand-up comedian in the ring, and he had, the story goes, because I don't think any footage exists of this particular fight, that Marty Marshall was cracking Liston up. And Liston was not a guy who looked as if he loved to laugh. There's some pictures of him laughing, and even some pictures of him with the young Cassius Clay before the fight, mixing it up. It wasn't always antagonistic between them. There's scenes of them joking around and cracking up. But this Marty Marshall, the only loss on Liston's register was that he supposedly couldn't stop laughing. Marty Marshall was almost doing stand-up comedy while they were bashing each other's brains in, and Sonny gave away a couple of rounds because he couldn't stop laughing. Many people say that Sonny should have gotten that decision. It was 4-4, 5-3 fight, and they kind of gifted Marshall the decision. So many would say, realistically, Sonny Liston should have been undefeated heading into February 25th, 1964. You look at the previous fights he had before he won the title, and then before he blasted Floyd out of there in the first round again in the return fight, he had rarely been challenged. He typically went out there and a couple of rounds or less, and the fight was over. And as one boxing analyst from the day described him, he was a dreadnought. Think of Mike Tyson, and then think of a guy bigger, with a better jab, same ability to take a shot, and just a more intimidating figure. And Tyson had the intimidation. Sonny was even more intimidating. George Foreman in later years, he used Sonny as a sparring partner, and he more or less said, I was scared shitless of this guy. He'd just give you that evil eye, and you just felt like a little kid. So I'm going to get in a ring with this guy. Find me another sparring partner. This guy's scary. So nobody really knows what goes on in the mind of a fighter before any fight, really. But in this instance, before a big fight. The odds are that despite his apparent public unwavering belief in his ability to win this fight, Cassius Clay may have had doubts. A part of him may have thought, this guy is just going to run me over. He's going to fucking kill me. He did believe in his ability, and everybody around him said, kid, he's not going to know what hit him. Because first off, he's going to be surprised that you're bigger than he is. You're a bigger person than he is. You're taller, you're broader, you're better conditioned. And I feel like he's not aware of just how physically imposing you're going to be when you strip down and you're in your trunks and you tower over him. He's not going to expect it. And once he starts throwing and missing and you start chopping him up, he's going to begin to flail about. You're going to take his title. Now, I think he really believed that he could win, but I don't think that he really believed that, I'm just going to walk through this guy. But that's neither here nor there. History tells us that young Clay, who was already about to convert to Islam and renounce the faith which he was born to, Christianity, and he was going to embrace the Muslim religion. He had not told that many people, but somehow word got out that he was pondering this change, and then the fight actually was almost canceled. That was the kind of climate and the culture that it was back then. People talk about freedom of religion and all of this stuff they talk about today that's nowhere near what I'm talking about. We talk about freedom of religion, and he's going to announce a change in religion. We're going to cancel a fight, even though we had freedom of religion in 1964. So the fight ended up going off as planned, and famously at the weigh-in, most people believed that Cassius Clay was scared out of his mind because he caused a crazy disturbance at the weigh-in, screaming and yelling, someone's going to die at ringside, and the sense was the kid was scared to death. He might not even show up, and if he does, he can't possibly fight. We've seen this kid. We know he has talent, but he's just going to get his head taken off. He won't know which end is up. He's just scared to death. That part of it was con game. That was psychological warfare by the kid. Try to get under Liston's skin. And the truth is it worked, because Liston said later on, I thought the kid was actually crazy. I didn't think he was pretending. And people were saying, he's scared to death. He didn't come across in that way and is scared to death. He just came across like a lunatic. And you never know what a crazy person is going to do. So Liston was rattled by the weigh-in. And when the guys went out there for the fight, and video, there's a lot of really good footage, high definition, even though the fight was in black and white. It was filmed in black and white. Liston gives the kid his death stare as they take the instructions, but you can't help but notice the challenger is bigger than the champion. The champion might weigh more, but kid looks like a greyhound. He looks like a racehorse. And right away, in the first 30 seconds of the first round, you had the two announcers. Steve Ellis was not really a great announcer, but Joe Louis, the former famous heavyweight champion, and the name most often mentioned, along with Muhammad Ali, who Cassius Clay was, again, in a few weeks about to change his name to Muhammad Ali. Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali are the two people named most. If you randomly ask 100 boxing experts, who is the greatest heavyweight who ever lived? Those are the two guys that are going to be 1-2 in either direction to the largest possible extent. But Joe Louis was not very old. He was probably in his early 50s at the time that he was doing the commentary. And he and Ali had a kind of an up and down relationship. Ali liked Joe, but Joe had some problems. The kid talks too much. If I got him in the ring, I would beat him. There's a lot of nonsense. And he even one time on TV implied that, if we fought at the same time, you would have been part of the Bum of the Month club. And Ali felt he was hurt. He said, come on, Joe, I'm the champ. What do you mean how could I possibly be one of your Bum of the Month club? But they did respect each other, despite the fact that there were these kind of comical moments where each guy seemed to take shots at the other. But in this particular instance, Joe had put a significant bet on Sonny Liston. He liked the kid's talent, but he didn't think the kid could stand in there with Sonny. He was going to take, he didn't want him to get hurt. Nobody wanted him to get hurt, except maybe Sonny. But there was a lot of talk, and even Sonny Liston's wife said, "I thought Charles was going to kill this kid." And he was nice. He was cute and funny, and people liked him. They said, "Well, why don't you maybe take it easy on him?" So they weren't even taking him seriously. Like, no, you got to go all out here. You can't fuck around and say, well, he's a nice kid. But you win in a fight. It's a heavyweight championship fight. So the first round, young Cassius Clay literally boxes circles around Sonny Liston. Liston is winging and the same kinds of winding up and throwing shots and the same kind of piston-level jab that he was hammering Floyd Patterson with. He's throwing the shots, but there's no one there. There is no one on the other end because you can watch film of fighters. And Sonny Liston, no doubt, watched a lot of film, and they probably showed him that in his previous fight that Cassius Clay almost got knocked out of the ring by Henry Cooper, who was a great fighter. Another guy who was a bit undersized for a heavyweight, but man, could he punch, especially with that left hook. It was almost Joe Frazier level. So Liston, despite seeing, okay, the kid really, his footwork and he moves around the ring and he's actually has a style that's very pleasing to watch. Henry Cooper almost knocked him out of the ring. And Sonny hit harder than Henry Cooper, probably a lot harder. So he didn't really think that he was going to lose. But all of the movement that you see from a fighter on film, nowadays it would be video sessions where they can pause it and edit and do all of that kind of stuff to help the fighter learn about their opponent. It didn't prepare Sonny for what was actually going to happen in the ring. First off, the kid was broader than he thought. He doesn't look like a light heavyweight. He looks like a natural heavyweight. He's 212 to 215. He doesn't have a scrap of fat on him. The movement looked a lot faster in person than it seemed on film. So Sonny was probably past his prime. Nobody really knows how old Sonny Liston was, depending on which birth certificate you use. He was either in his early 30s, or maybe he was in his later 30s, or maybe he was in his middle 30s. The only thing that we know for sure is he was from Pine Bluffs, Arkansas. Everything else is shrouded in mystery. So Sonny is winging, hitting air, and young Cassius is circling, and he only goes on the attack sporadically, but he wins the first round going away because the only significant blows which were landed by Cassius. And there's a moment towards the end of the round where both Steve Ellis and Joe Louis get excited because neither one of them was expecting this to be a competitive fight. And people who in the arena in Miami Beach were hoping for, hey, at least we get a competitive fight tonight. If the kid at least runs around a little bit, we'll get 3 rounds. Nobody wanted, whether or not you like Cassius Clay or already thought he's a loudmouth, I hope Liston shuts him up, because there were people saying that. People still want to see a fight. You want to see a competitive fight, or you want to see something memorable. Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks in 1988 was not a competitive fight, but the 93-second demolition by the then undisputed Iron Mike Tyson as champ, defeating the co-champion Michael Spinks, that was something memorable. So at the very least, you wanted to see something. If it was going to have to be one round, hopefully it'll be spectacular. It won't be some nonsense like maybe the kid will start fouling because he's scared. Who knows? When the first round of Clay Liston, Miami Beach, 225-64, came to a conclusion, you listen to the arena, it seems to be in kind of shock because that didn't go at all the way anybody expected. Not everybody said Sonny was going to get him in the first round. They would say, well, maybe Sonny it'll take him a couple of rounds or 3 rounds. But this is one of those situations. If you didn't know who was who, it appeared as if the younger man was training and the older guy was his sparring partner. That is how much of a disparity there appeared to be in talent between the two guys just in the opening 3 minutes. And bear this in mind. And Mike Tyson's talked about this too. He has Sonny Liston in his top 10. He would rank Sonny higher than himself in terms of greatest heavyweights ever. Sonny Liston may have been past his prime, but Sonny was a great fighter. He didn't accidentally get to 35-1, where the one loss many people said was bullshit. He didn't lose that fight. I don't know what the fuck those judges were watching. And he had beaten a lot of top-end fighters and dispatched them with ease. The level of the distance between the two guys in the first round in terms of who appeared to know what they were doing, it just seemed like a sparring session, as much as Sonny was winging. And Joe Louis, to his credit, yes, he had a big bet on Sonny, but when the announcer, Steve Ellis, who seemed completely bewildered by how competitive the first round was in a different way than expected, he said, Joe, what do you think about the first round? And Joe Louis did not hold back on his admiration for what he had just seen. He said, I think that's one of the greatest rounds we've seen in a really long time. The kid really outclassed Sonny in that round. He didn't say, well, maybe Sonny won it. He just threw it out there. This was an incredible round. He doesn't have to say the rest. If the kid can sustain it, he's going to win this fight. Can he stay away? Can he, continue to pepper Sonny? So the second round was more or less uneventful, but the challenger clearly won round 2. And then there's more of Joe Louis. He's probably looking at his wallet and saying, Jesus, why did I have to put such a big bet on Sonny at these odds? I watched the kid fight. I know he's good. What are you going to do? So then the third round, Cassius Clay opens up and lands a series of winging and stinging and vicious shots. Now, he did not throw roundhouses. Whether Cassius Clay or in his later years, when he came back in the 70s and he was just a bigger man, and he presumably had a bigger punch because he was, 15, 20 pounds heavier and more working out and all that kind of stuff. But he was throwing really clean, vicious, nasty shots. The kinds of shots that had knocked down Archie Moore a year and a half earlier, had knocked down Archie Moore 3 times. Downward darts. And Sonny, who was not a small man, had to keep crouching at the punches coming. And the kid was throwing these twisting darts. And by the time the third round had ended, one of Sonny's eyes was busted open and the other one was not looking so good. The kid won the first 3 rounds. Then he won the 4th round. But I should point out that only the 3rd round is what you would call an exciting round. There was a little bit of back and forth. After the challenger opened up on Sonny, Sonny seemed to rally a little bit later in the round, almost as if Cassius Clay got a little nervous or wasn't sure, because this is the thing. And we've seen this when a challenger, especially somebody who is not a long-time fighter, but somebody on their way up, when they think they have the champion hurt, you don't want to throw all of your shots and burn out your energy. And sometimes you take a step back. And the kid seemed to do that in the 3rd round, because it appeared that Sonny, even if he wasn't going to go down, the fact that his eye got chopped up so quickly and so early in the fight from not that many punches, he could have kept at it, but he kind of backed off and let Sonny almost get a little bit of a rally going later in the round. But he won that round, and he won the first 4 rounds of the fight. Now, the thing that has been debated historically is what happened in between the 4th and 5th rounds. To this day, nobody knows for 100% certain. But when Cassius came back to his corner after round 4, He started screaming to Angelo Dundee, there's something in my eye, there's something in my eye. And Angelo Dundee, who was Ali's chief second and trainer, and a guy who had been around the business for decades already, and was very canny and heady, and knew how to take advantage of certain situations. He wasn't corrupt, but he was somebody who knew how to game a situation within the rules. If your fighter needed a little extra time, say that there was a split in the glove, hey, my guy needs a new glove, or whatever it might be, or can you give me some tape to fix the glove? That's what he did in the Henry Cooper fight. After Cassius almost got knocked out of the ring, he got him a few extra seconds by complaining about the fact that there was a split in his glove. And many people think Angelo Dundee himself created the split in his glove, because the kid came out the round after almost getting knocked out of the ring and really put an absolute beating on Henry Cooper and ended up stopping him. It's very unusual. Guy gets knocked down and almost out at the end of one round, and then he stops the guy in the next round. But that's what happened in the fight prior to this, when Cassius Clay in England faced off against a great British champion, Henry Cooper. But in this case, Cassius Clay, he's not Muhammad Ali yet. He's not an iconic worldwide figure. He's not the most famous man in the world. Sitting in that corner with his eyes burning like something he's never felt before, he's a scared kid. He's college age. He is scared because he can't see and his eyes are burning. It feels like somebody's setting fire to his eyes and he's panicking. He's probably hyperventilating in the corner, and Dundee is trying to calm him down. He said, kid, you got to calm down. You got to calm down. This is a big one. It'll pass. I don't know what the fuck they got in there. The theory is that because Liston had this cut, that his corner I'm not sure who the corner person was. Willie Reddish, I think was his name, had put some gunk on the eye to try to, close the wound. And somehow some of this substance got into the kid's eyes, and it just mixed wrong with some dirt and sweat and caused this inferno level reaction in his eyes. So young Cassius Clay was ready to stop. He was ready to quit on his stool because he was blind and his eyes were burning. All of that chatter, the pre-fight talk, I'm going to beat this guy. If you want to lose your money, bet on Sonny. In those desperate seconds, he thought the fight was over. How can I go out there? I can't see. My eyes are burning. And this guy's trying to kill me to begin with, and I'm staying away from it. Whatever is going through his mind. As the buzzer goes off, the moment when the fighters are supposed to rise to prepare for the bell of round 5, Cassius Clay does something that nowadays they might have stopped the fight immediately. He raises his hands in such a way and almost turns away from his opponent. Angelo Dundee, God bless him, may he rest in peace, one of the greatest ever. What Angelo Dundee did in those desperate seconds is the reason why Muhammad Ali became Muhammad Ali. Nobody doubted his talent, and we saw in the first 4 rounds, he had won all 4 rounds, and Liston's face was a mess, and his shoulder was there was something wrong. He wasn't throwing right. He probably, from missing so much, he had hurt himself. Angelo Dundee said, "Quit the bullshit, kid." Angie, I can't see. You fucking run. You get out there and you run. Cassius Clay engaged Sonny Liston, completely blind, and Sonny saw that something's wrong. Like, I don't buy into, there are people that are saying it was a conspiracy, it was against, because they knew he was changing his name. I don't buy into that bullshit. This is something that could happen in a fight, and it happened to happen in a world heavyweight title fight. And so Sonny, I don't think, came out thinking, okay, we fucked this kid's eyes up, I'm going to get him. But he saw that his opponent was he probably didn't even know what it was. It looked like the kid was having trouble seeing. So Sonny ran out and started firing shots from every angle. And young Cassius defended and turned and curled, and he later said, I couldn't see him, but I had an idea of where he was. My eyes hurt so fucking much. But I'm glad that Angie forced me out there, because after about 30 seconds, and Sonny landed a couple of big shots, and I swallowed them, and I felt okay. I knew I was going to win this fight. And I was just biding time, because eventually the sweat and everything was going to wash whatever shit this was in my eyes out. So he moves around, and then there's a part of the 5th round where it seems almost like farce, because Sonny is still winging and he's not really landing that much. But you see the kid blinking furiously This is the sort of thing, if there was no video, we would just have to go on what people talked about the fight. But you see him blinking furiously. And as Sonny tries to get close, the kid is using a trick later employed by Roberto Duran. He's sticking his paw out to keep distance as his eyes slowly begin to clear. And he does this thing, which is actually pretty funny. If you watch the 5th round, he takes his left glove and kind of rubs it on Sonny Liston's nose. And it's almost, the audience starts laughing because they don't know what's going on. It's funny. He's just like doing this. And Sonny knocks his hand away, but by the end of the round, Sonny is firing, but the kid is no longer blinking. His eyes are clear. And now he looks mad. Not Sonny. Cassius looks mad. He goes back to his corner after round 5. Now, obviously, Sonny won round 5 because the challenger barely threw any punches. Cassius Clay came out in round 6 and really put a hurting on Sonny, who was still trying to win. He was still throwing shots. But you listen to Steve Ellis, the play-by-play, and Joe Louis. And in the 6th round, Sonny became a very easy target. And true to form, Cassius Clay was not winding up and throwing big shots. He was taking what was in front of him. He was maintaining distance. He was circling, and he was staying out of harm's way because there is no reason to take any risks. He had taken risks in the Henry Cooper fight. It's not that he was winging. He wasn't throwing roundhouse punches, but he should have been more cautious. And Henry Cooper, as we say, almost took his head off. He wasn't going to make that mistake in this fight. There was too much at stake. He was fortunate in the Cooper fight that Cooper happened to nail him with his home run Sunday punch at the end of a round, where instead of Henry having a chance to maybe finish the fight, well, here goes the kid, back to his corner, and then 90 seconds later, he's fine. He's landing and landing and landing and just power shots within reason. But those downward darts, those incredible, vicious, rapier-like punches that he was famous for, twisting them into Sonny's jaw, into his eye. And at the end of round 6, Joe Louis basically says, the kid's going to win this fight. Sonny looks tired. He looks beat up. And it appears to us that Cassius has all the tools necessary to go forward and to defeat Sonny. And it didn't look like it was going the distance. It would have been 15, but Sonny looked like he was shot. And even by the 5th round, he had done so much swinging and missing. When he had his opportunity, he wasn't as fresh. He didn't look like a guy, because in the 5th round, a championship level fighter should not be gassed. But he didn't have as much left in the tank in the 5th round. And now in the 6th round, he got hit hard a lot. And he almost went down at one point. So as the commentators, Steve Ellis and Joe Louis, are pointing out what is blatantly obvious, and as the arena is in an uproar, now there were a lot of people who already disliked Cassius Clay because of the rumors that he was going to, convert from Christianity, and there were people who had bet a lot of money on Sonny. If you want to lose your money, bet on Sonny. When the kid stood up to come out for round 7, Sonny Liston did not move from his stool. And he said something, presumably to Willie Reddish, my shoulder's fucked, I can't go out, this fight's over. His trainer said, Sonny, you're the champ, you can't lose the fight like this. Come on, just get out there. Maybe the kid will fall over, whatever he says to him. Nowadays we would know what was said because all of the audio is recorded. But back then we just know Sonny said, fight's over, I'm done. My shoulder's gone. And he didn't say I'm getting humiliated, but he's getting humiliated. His face is all chewed up. He looks about 15 years older than whatever his actual age was. So in these desperate seconds, which weren't really that desperate, Cassius Clay is standing ready for the bell. And he knows that Sonny is not supposed to still be sitting there. And as the referee, Barney Felix, goes over to Liston's corner, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, Barney Felix is not thinking the fight is about to be over. He's ready. He's filled out his scorecard for round 6, Clay. And what the fuck is going on? As Barney Felix, the referee, makes his way over to Liston's corner, Cassius Clay raises his hands in victory. He's already calculated He's not coming out. Sonny is quitting on his stool. He's quitting on his stool. Hands go up. Steve Ellis goes nuts. On the radio broadcast was actually Howard Cosell. Cosell went fucking crazy. He was rooting for the kid, but he also did not think he had any chance. See, to the credit of Steve Ellis and Joe Louis on their broadcast, they also, if you were somebody just dropped into this and didn't know who the fighters were, you wouldn't know that Sonny was an overwhelming favorite. Their call of the fight was straight down the line. Howard Cosell was expecting Sonny Liston to put a whooping and to really hurt the kid. And he didn't like it. He didn't want to see it because he liked Cassius Clay. He was hoping that maybe he'll take a little bit more time before getting in the ring with Sonny. But whereas Steve Ellis is screaming and he yells to Joe Louis, get in the ring, like, let's get an interview with the new champ. And Howard Cosell also, it's over, new champion, Cassius Clay. And in the ensuing pandemonium, you would have liked to have seen a moment where he would have gone over, where Sonny Liston would have come over to congratulate him or say, you know what, kid, I'm sorry, I quit. You won the fight though, or whatever. But I don't believe that happened. I think Sonny just kind of got back to the dressing room. The new champion, they give him the belt, and he famously said, I shook up the world. And truer words were never spoken. Him winning that fight, and then, Joe Louis is trying to get a few words, and Steve Ellis, they're trying to get an interview, but he's just running around the ring, and he's pointing at all of the reporters. He knew everyone's name, and he recognized the guys at ringside, and you see him with his glove going like this, basically saying, you and you and you and you and you and you. You thought second round, first round, first round, first round, first round, second round. How do you like me now? Huh? I didn't have a chance? Eat your words. Eat your words. So he won the title and in very short order announced that he had converted to Islam, instantly making him very polarizing figure. Because as much as there were people who didn't like him because he was brash, he used to predict the rounds that he would win the fights, and he did a lot of stuff that, well, nowadays is no big deal. You see guys doing it, whether it's Floyd Mayweather, 20 years ago, or guys today. But no one had really done that before. He was just such a character. He was a poet. He recorded an album where he kind of did some spoken word. I'm not even going to distinguish and call it singing. He really couldn't sing at all. Even though Sam Cooke was working, couldn't sing. But on the night of February 25th, 1964, and this is a matter of historical record, Jim Brown, who was still playing, famous football player, one of the 3 or 4 greatest football players who ever lived, Malcolm X, and Sam Cooke spent a significant amount of time together. And this meeting, of which there are pictures of the guys together, but no one knows for 100% certain if they really talked about anything of substance. We think they did. No one knows for sure. And between 3 and 4 years ago, the actress and filmmaker Regina King made a movie. And this is what I'm going to close on. She made a movie called One Night in Miami. And the movie is based on not the fight. You get the background of Cassius Clay, the lead up to the heavyweight championship fight. And we know that he won the fight. But the movie is set after, 80 to 90% of it is set after Cassius Clay, who's about to become Muhammad Ali, is 22, and he is now the heavyweight champion of the world. And the movie goes into what was happening with the civil rights movement, what's going to happen if Cassius Clay actually does change his religion and change his name, and what can each of these guys do to advance the cause of justice, social justice, if you will, and equality. And the sad part is, yes, all 4 men are gone now, but Cassius Clay was young and idealistic still. And he didn't realize, or maybe he did know and he didn't tell anybody, but he was about to get swallowed up by the system. The idealistic, brash kid, heavyweight champion, was about to just become another spoke on the wheel. And when he refused to be a spoke on the wheel, the establishment would go after him. The movie One Night in Miami is really good. And it had a lot of Oscar buzz, but it got terrific reviews, but the sense was it was a little bit too stage-bound. It's a movie, but there were too few locations. I feel like Oscar voters were like, this is a good movie, but it's not quite Oscar level. But Kingsley Ben-Adir, who is in the Bob Marley biopic, which is out, and he's terrific. He plays Malcolm X, who is the closest in every way to young Cassius in the world of the film and in real life at that time. Aldous Hodge plays Jim Brown and is dynamite. I mean, he should have gotten Emmy nominations if you ask me. Aldous Hodge was in Hidden Figures. He's a very distinctive actor, very physically impressive. He looks like an athlete, and he kind of looks a little bit like Jim Brown. The actor they got to play the young Cassius Clay, Eli Gorey, doesn't really look that much like him, but the speech patterns, he was able to work on it, and he did enough work where he kind of sounds like him because Cassius Clay had very distinctive canter and cadence to his speech. It's a very solid film and worth seeing. It's historical fiction based on fact. And as I say, it's a good movie. It takes everything into account and wonders, where do we go from here? And what Cassius Clay did was he went ahead, changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and had 9 very, not only successful title defenses, but he had 9 very easy title defenses. He wasn't even challenged. The only fight out of the 9 before his exile, because of what I was just saying, being a spoke on the wheel and giving the finger to the establishment, Carl Mildenberger maybe took a round off of him in their fight in 65. Maybe. And Mildenberger was knocked down 3 times in that fight. It was not a competitive fight. Carl was as tough as nails and had his moments. But in 9 title defenses, that's the only fight where you could argue, okay, I think he might have lost a round, maybe 2. In the Ernie Terrell fight, 15 rounds, 2 of the 3 judges had it 15-0. He pitched a shutout in a heavyweight title fight against another heavyweight champion. He was on another level. Now, I just want to say I'd forgotten. Leslie Odom Jr., the phenomenal musical performer who had been in Hamilton, he's the one who plays Sam Cooke in the movie One Night in Miami. Now, as I say, One Night in Miami is a terrific movie. I'm looking it up here. 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, it's stunning that it didn't get more Oscar nominations. I'm not even sure that it got any. But Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X, Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke, Eli Gorey as Cassius Clay, and a fantastic Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown. It is a wonderful film, great for people interested in the history of everything surrounding Cassius Clay versus Sonny Liston, February 25th, 1964, everything that went into that fight and the ensuing years after that fight. It was a night that changed history. 60 years ago today, Cassius Clay started to recede into the background. He became Muhammad Ali. And with that, we've reached the end of episode 99 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for joining me for, again, a very emotional episode. Anytime I talk about Ali, I've got the hat, Superman versus Muhammad Ali collector's comic hat, and I've got the If You Even Dream of Beating Me, or if you beat me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize. Got the shirt. But thanks so much for joining me for this special episode 99. And if you've caught this on the YouTube channel, enjoy the content, haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, turn on those notifications. Or if you caught this episode on the audio platforms such as Spotify or iTunes, click like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I'll be back with episode 100, the centennial episode, real soon. Till then.